Welcome to today's webinar. I'll start off with some introduction. So I'm Andrew Norrie, I'm the Commercial Director at 3D Repo, and today I'm joined by Matt Osmond, who's our new Product Director, newly assigned to that role, who'll be taking you through some of the live demonstrations that we'll be doing today, or presentations of the features that were developed last year and the new features we've got planned for 2022. So to start off, just a really quick introduction to 3D Repo platform and what we do. So we're a cloud-based platform for helping you manage your BIM models and the data that resides within them. We accept multiple file formats into our cloud, process them, store them in a live database, and then you can access it through a number of our different products that we've built on top of the platform. So the first one being 3D Repo IO, where a lot of our presentation will be focused today, which is really our model collaboration platform for bringing together various models and allowing people access to them in an easy to use way. We also have Planbase, which is a community engagement tool for putting those models out into the public realm and getting some feedback on them. And finally, we have our free tool, 3D Send, which is a really easy to use tool just to send 3D models whilst also getting a free preview of that within a web browser. I think that there'll be some mentions of that today as well. And finally, because everything that we do with our products at the moment is built on Unity, we also have links out to the real-time gaming engines in Unity and Unreal to allow you to pull down your data and create your own custom applications, custom workflows that you might want to do with applications in visualization and digital twins. All of this platform is held up by the 3D Repo API, which allows you to connect to multiple different tools and create your own workflows, whether that be pushing models from various tools like BIM 360 up to 3D Repo, or pulling down that data from those models, such as maybe door schedule information, down into things like Power BI for further analysis, whilst also keeping that live repository going in the cloud that always keeps your information up to date. So within 3D Repo IO, we've got a number of tools, and we'll be talking about some of these today and how they've been improved over the past year and what plans we have for them moving forward. But they essentially break down into the kind of tracking tools like issue tracking and safety base for tracking issues and risks across your project and allowing you to collaborate on them and have that golden thread of information and conversation going in a live environment. And then also the more analytical tools in clash detection, differencing and validation that you can set up to find out what's going on in your models as they get submitted into the platform. So before we go into the more product related stuff, we thought we'd have a bit of a review of what we've done as a company over the last year. For those of you that follow us, you'll know a lot of this, but maybe for some others, there might be some other stuff outstanding. So we've done a lot of events, or we've done a few events. With the pandemic opening things up again, it's meant that we could get out and start talking to people and get out in front of them. So we brought back our British Information Modelling event, which is a small event that we try and run 3 times a year. We only managed one last year because of the pandemic, but we brought together 6 speakers from various different organisations. We had 85 attendees, and it was really covering the latest innovations in the AEC industry. It was really great to see that there was still that appetite there for events like this. So we plan to hopefully do more of these going into 2022. Obviously, government restrictions apply to that, and we'll see where we go. It was also great to be back at Digital Construction Week. It was over 3,000 attendees, and we had 4 3D Repo presentations there from various people across the company presenting different aspects of the work that we've been doing this year. We're also the lanyard sponsors for those of you there will have seen that, and we co-exhibited again with our friends at Mission Room to be able to show 3D Repo on the live collaborative big VR screens. It was another good year for 3D Repo in the awards sense. So we were nominated and made it to a finalist of the BCIA Awards for Health and Safety Wellbeing Initiative of the Year. This was for our Project Time stuff that you'll hear a lot more about this year, hopefully. That we've been doing with HS2 and Balfour Beatty Vinci along with a couple of other project partners. We were also winners of Health and Safety Products of the Year for Safety Base 4D at the Construction Computing Awards and won the Editor's Choice Award. And finally, we won the AWS City on a Cloud Innovation Challenge. One of our biggest activities last year has been our white papers. So these have been downloadable from our website. We're actually going to put them up in the chat now for anyone that's on the call to be able to download them. But we started off looking at the beginning of last year at digital twins and how that kind of movement compares to the original BIM movement and how we can kind of avoid those pitfalls. We then, to coincide with the work that we've been doing in the platform with 4D, brought out a white paper with Matt and James Bowles at Freeform, looking at breaking down the barriers to 4D adoption, how 3D Repo can help with that. We then started to look at health and safety, obviously in relation to our safety-based product. Myself and Zaniel Hack wrote something there about digitizing health and safety. And then finally, towards the end of last year, me and Matt were working on the demystifying the golden thread, which led in nicely from the health and safety stuff that we've been doing before. Yeah, so they're all going to be downloadable through the chat now. No need to sign up. They'll just be straight downloads. So have a look at those. So now I'm going to hand over to Matt. In the meantime, it looks like a few of you have found the questions section already, but do keep them coming in the Q&A and the chat, and we'll be able to answer those as we go along. I think we're going to have a break after Matt's session, where we'll have a quick talk through the features from 2021 and answer any of the questions that you have in there, and then we'll go on to the kind of roadmap for 22. Okay, over to you, Matt.
Thanks, Andrew. So we've got a lot to cover. This is intended as kind of an overview of what we've done in 2021. A lot of the features, there will be more detailed webinars if you go back through our webinar history on YouTube or on 3drepo.com. So this is more intended as an overview. And to start with, I just want to say, as product manager and then product director now, I'm really proud of what we've done as a team. I think that what we've achieved in 2021 with the vision of our customers and the work we've been doing is really quite impressive. And I'll take you through some of the highlights now. First of all, as Andrew mentioned, we've had a big push in our 4D integration. That's been as a response to a lot of our clients who have been using it and want to push it further and get more utility out of it. So we've been working through linking health and safety risks in the 4D sequence. We want you to be able to share your interactive 4D sequences with the whole team. So get away from pre-recorded videos and instead allow people to interact and play around with the model, zoom in, zoom out, rotate, and actually see the areas that they're interested in. We've also been making steps to remove the need for 4D authoring software. So go straight from the program into 3D Repo into a 4D visualization, not needing to have a whole process where you compose a 4D sequence. We've also added areas and lines, allowing you to tag those up to health and safety risks, which we'll see in a second. And what that allows you to do is, rather than pin a point for a health and safety risk, you can actually say, okay, maybe this void is a risk, or this whole edge is a problem. And we also allow you to optioneer multiple sequences per model. I think that's one of the most interesting things about 4D when you use it from a planning point of view, is the intention is not that it's a whole model with one sequence, it's that there may be 4 or 5 different options for how you're going to build it. So what does that mean in terms of features? We've now allow you to export directly from Synchro, where previously we needed you to utilize a Synchro link tool. You can also upload sequence logic directly via our APIs, so you can build your own custom workflows to get 4D sequences into 3D Repo. We've added a legend so that people can understand what your color overrides are intended to mean, and the multi-sequence support, which you'll see in this video. So here, when I go to the sequences tab, you can see now I've got multiple sequences to pick from. I can go into one, skip through a certain amount of time in the day, and you can start to see the sequence building out in real time. So as you can see, as with all 3D Repo IO features, this is available in the browser. So anyone on your project with permissions, with that link, can just go on there and immediately start viewing the model. You can go to a particular risk that someone's recorded. It's going to snap you to that date in the sequence. You're going to be able to see any shapes that that person has drawn on to signify particular areas. And then if I want to go in and add an additional shape, I can just select that feature and draw it in the same way you would draw a measurement tool, square or polygon in 3D Repo. Next up, we'll show you the new legend. Or sorry, the activity list. Sorry, it's always hard when I've got these pre-recorded videos. So the activity list allows you to jump forward to any area in the sequence. So if you want to go towards your roof concrete here, you can zip forward and the whole timeline is going to shift. And then we can play the sequence all the way to the end. So when we talk about the APIs, what that means is you can take your current data sets, assuming the data sets are stored in a system or file format that supports APIs and interacting with other platforms, and push that data directly into 3D Repo. So if you've got a program in PowerPoint, in Powerproject, if you've got as-built data in Asite, or you're doing QA checks in every file, all of those things can now interact directly with 3D Repo. So you could have an as-built, you could update your program in Powerproject and immediately see the impact of that in 3D Repo. So it's all about reducing the time to getting the 4D sequence out the door, because as you may know, those of you familiar with 4D, there can be quite a large lag between creating the 4D sequence, finishing it, and then it's a week out of date by the time you get to that point. So file support, this is a key factor for 3D Repo. We know that the other platforms out there, the authoring tools are constantly updating. Autodesk go through an annual revision cycle, and then we've got things like IFC4 coming out as well. So with our file support over 2021, we've kept up to date with the Autodesk releases. We've released support for IFC4. We also now support 2D lines inside DWGs, Revit files, and IFC files. And we support additional data fields that we were missing previously in IFC 2x3. And we now support native DWG and DXF. What we mean by native support, it's the same with our Revit 2021 support, is that if you bring that file to 3D Repo, the .rvt, the .dwg, or the .dxf, we'll be able to support that inside 3D Repo without you having to own a copy of the authoring tool. So here's a little example of what 2D lines now look like in 3D Repo, and you can see how they might be useful. So here you can see the grid lines coming out the side of the building, just to add that context. And also where potentially you haven't modeled furniture or layout plans, you can bring in lines to indicate those elements rather than having bulky elements, because often if you're getting those from a BIM library, those could be the elements that actually weigh down your model quite significantly. So instead, you can now support them with lines, which is going to make your model run a lot smoother, both in 3D Repo and other platforms. So this is a summary of the new files that we're supporting. So we've got Revit 2021, IFC4, DWG, and DXF there. Power BI, this got a lot of feedback when we showed it off earlier in the year. We've made a few tweaks in the last couple of months about relating data to the 3D model, how you can show your data from external sources potentially on that 3D model. And we've worked hard to increase the number of model elements that you can bring into Power BI. So previously there was a cap, which was Microsoft's kind of cap to how many elements they support in a data table. We've now worked to get beyond that, so we can support up to 1 million model elements and color override inside the model. And the metadata improvements that we've made in file support also carry through to Power BI. So when you pull your metadata down into Power BI, you're getting all that extra information. So here, for anyone not familiar, is the embedded model viewer in 3D Repo. When you click a model element in 3D Repo, it interacts with the rest of the Power BI data. So you can start to see issues up there or metadata associated. So you can select everything from the first floor, the roof, and it's going to filter the model accordingly. You can also bring in external sources if you've got potentially data from Celebri. And then here, I'm going to bring in the color override column from my Power BI data model. And now I can color override the model based on the data inside the Power BI data model. So rather than having to have users click through the elements, they can just see immediately from the model. So that could be displaying whether or not certain elements failed your model validation tests. You know, maybe they're missing a key metadata field that you need in order to proceed with your BIM workflows, or which elements have issues or risks related to them, and you can pass those back to your designers or your engineers, and they get a much easier model to interpret because they can see where the problems are. Plugins alongside file support are a big part of what 3D Repo offers, so allowing you to jump into your authoring tools and upload and manage issues and risks inside your authoring tool. So when your team is out there using 3D Repo to add issues and risks, and you're in the design process, you can pull those issues and risks back into Revit, or with our new features, Civil 3D and AutoCAD, and view them inside your model and make the changes you need to do to that model live and add comments and close out issues. So we now support Civil 3D and AutoCAD with the model upload and issues and risks. We allow you to upload 2D sheets from Revit. So if you've got that context model, similar to the grid lines on the model I showed previously, you can now pull those in from Revit. And we also support 2D lines in Navisworks and Civils 3D. Texture support inside Revit. So a little preview of what that looks like in Civils 3D. You can see, for those of you familiar with our Revit plugin, how you navigate to your model, and you can upload your model directly from Civil 3D. So the way 3D Repo works is we have revision stacking. So you're constantly uploading new revisions into the same container on 3D Repo. So here, I'm just uploading a new revision. While that's uploading, I'll go into the issues plugin, and I'll be able to find the model inside 3D Repo and create a new issue in the same way I would in either 3D Repo or Revit. And then these issues are then viewable immediately inside Revit, Navisworks, 3D Repo itself online, and Civil 3D. So it really helps that collaboration. And then this is going to be a quick run through of what it looks like to publish 2D lines from Revit. So same process, I go to my model, create a new revision, and now I've got a list of all the 2D views inside my 3D model. I can select a few of those, upload that to 3D Repo. And then what that looks like in 3D Repo, it's the same model we saw earlier. So I can come in, navigate through to my tree. And there I can see the 2D views as a separate element in my tree. I could go in, isolate the particular 2D elements that I want to see, or alternatively, I can add a section to my model and see them live inside the model. Okay, on to model data. Obviously, another big thing for 3D Repo, we allow you to pull into Power BI, we allow you to access this model data from our API. So it's really important that we make that model data as easy to understand as possible once you're in Power BI. So we can now read data sets much more easily into 3D Repo. So that means while we're processing your data, we're grabbing more data points and then we're storing them in a more efficient way. We can help you save time when you're creating those validation rules in smart groups, and you can create those rules faster using shortcuts. So what that means in terms of features, we've now structured a hierarchy in the BIM card. We allow you to import and export groups from your models. So if you have a model and you're using smart groups for data validation, you can now pull that list of smart groups out and push them back into another model. You can auto-select elements and bulk upload groups via the API. And then what we'll see that looking like in here, you can see that hierarchy list now in the BIM card there, and the amount of data in there. If we go into the materials area here, if we hit that little target button, that's going to highlight all of the elements in the model that share that same parameter value with the element that we're selected. If we want to then pull that into a smart group, we could just hit the copy button, open up smart groups, create a new smart group, and then paste that filter in there. So we don't have to go through the process of writing out the filters manually for each group we want. We can go find them in the model and then paste them in. And that's going to then highlight all of those elements purple and add them to a smart group. And then here we go, importing the groups in from a file that we've got on our desktop. These are standard JSON files. So if you're familiar with any kind of data processing, you can actually create these files offline. You could create a process in Excel where you bring them in, or you could just export them from other 3D repo models. So now you can see I've brought all these groups in and they're immediately finding the elements based on their rule sets. Integrations. For those of you that have tuned into any webinar that I've been doing or any phone call that I've had with clients, this is a big push for me personally. I think that the BIM world really needs integrations and really needs open APIs in order to proceed, because we can't keep locking things into different platforms. So what integrations at 3D Repo allow you to do is access your data from outside 3D Repo. You could start to push models into 3D Repo automatically from your CDE. So no more double handling of that information. And then you can link all the data that's in 3D Repo through to data warehouses. So and we're seeing a lot of customers doing this now, they're setting up these cross-project data warehouses that they want to pull all the information from projects in, especially with the building safety bill coming up. You want to have that store of data for your projects that is uneditable, doesn't require a software license, and you know where it's going to be in 10 years' time. So with our integrations, we allow you to do that and pull that data from 3D Repo. So using Power Automate, we support integrations with ProjectWise, Procore, and SharePoint. We've been partnering with Asite to deliver an Asite to 3D Repo integration, which allows you to upload models directly from Asite when they're uploaded and push them into 3D Repo. We're available on the Autodesk Construction Cloud, and we've demonstrated integrations with Microsoft Teams and Excel. So for those of you not familiar with integration platforms, this is Microsoft's Power Automate. And it just shows you how simple it is. It's basically a workflow diagram, but each node of the workflow diagram is a platform or a process. So one of those could be pull a model from ProjectWise, and then the next node, even though it's a completely different system, could be upload that model to 3D Repo. So there's a lot of scope for business process here. You know, you could say once the status has reached a particular level in ProjectWise, push that model to 3D Repo, rather than it being an integration that we build inside 3D Repo, which would then limit you and limit your ability to build things the way you need them for your business. This is the listing for 3D Repo on the Autodesk Construction Cloud platform. And as you can see, it works in a very similar way to Microsoft Power Automate. But for those of you that have got Autodesk subscriptions, often this will be bundled in, or you can use credits to pay for it. So it helps you guys out in that sense. But the concept is exactly the same. You've got these workflow diagrams, you're pulling parameters in from one level and pushing it to another. If you want any help with this sort of stuff, our support team and our implementation team are always happy to talk through the options. On to game engine support. So as you can see, we're really expanding 3D Repo, and this is all very much the 3D Repo as a platform. Get your models into 3D Repo, and once they're in there, you can really do whatever you want with them. You can pull them into Power BI, use our integrations, or in this case, pull them into Unreal or Unity. So we allow you to pull models directly into the latest Unreal Engine. You can use the 3D Repo API still to pull in 4D information, issues, risks, and metadata associated with that model. We now support Unity for mobile. So if you want to create a mobile app, you can use models that you've uploaded to 3D Repo on mobile apps that you're creating. And we allow you to create more dynamic 3D web applications using the Unity viewer in the browser. What that means in terms of features, we now support Unreal Engine 4 and 5. We've got early access blueprints, an early access blueprints module, which you'll see in the next video. That's very much a kind of visual programming, so you don't have to know C++ in order to and how to do, you know, complex coding in order to get a prototype up and running. It works with all existing 3D Repo REST APIs. This is something that I think is really worth hitting home about. Even if you get to the point where you want to create your own game, and you want to solicit feedback from customers or colleagues on that game, you have to now build a whole backend to support that data transfer. You know, where are you going to store the information? Where are you going to store their comments? Where are you going to store revisions of the models? By using 3D Repo, we've kind of solved that whole problem for you. You can use 3D Repo's REST API, use our issues and risks infrastructure, and so you can really get up and running with your own application very, very quickly. So here's a quick demonstration of the blueprints module in Unreal. As you can see, sort of a node connection for anyone familiar with Dynamo, Grasshopper, or even simple workflow tools like Power Automate. You'll kind of see what's happening here and how the rule logic works. I'm just going to skip forward in this video a little bit. Back to the next bit. Hopefully we'll see a model loading in now. So we've got a standard game here. We've wired up all our blueprints elements, and now we're pulling a model in from 3D Repo. The great thing about this integration is you're not baking that model into the application. You're just pulling in the latest version of that model from 3D Repo. So you know that everyone you distribute this game to is going to get the latest and greatest model. You don't have to worry about having, you know, rogue, out-of-date models lying around out there. 3D Send, another big push for us in 2021. Sorry, I almost forgot which year it was last year. We had a bit of a facelift because we had George, our new product designer, join the team. For anyone that doesn't know, 3D Send is a platform which allows you to send and receive 3D models completely free. It works a little bit like WeTransfer, except the recipient now gets to preview the model. So if they don't have authoring tools or the right software installed on their computer, it doesn't matter, they can still preview the model in the browser. And what we found is that's really helping BIM novices understand 3D models a little better. If you're an architect and you're sending models out to a client, they might not have Revit or BIM Vision or any of those sorts of tools. So we've had a bit of a visual update. All the new file versions, all the new plugins that I mentioned earlier, they're all now supported. That's the benefit of 3D Repo as a platform. Anything that happens at the platform level automatically gets distributed down to any apps that we create and any apps that you might want to create yourself. And then what that looks like in the browser, as you can see, it's a very familiar interface for those of you that have used file sharing applications in the past. We send a little message, we upload a 3D model, and then just for time's sake, I'll just skip through to the next screen. The recipient then receives an email to say, so-and-so has sent you a model, would you like to view your models online? That pops up in your browser, and you have this play button, and that's going to load the 3D Repo viewer inside 3D Send and allow you to view the models before you download them. There you go. So as quick as that. Sorry, I just need to turn my power charger on. There we go. So as quick as that, you've got a 3D model in your browser and it's completely free. Support, another massive point for us as 3D Repo. We look around at some of our competition and we think that our level of support really sets us apart. We're really focused on having our customers get the most out of 3D Repo, and we've looked at ways to improve that. So we've added over 100 new support articles in 2021. We've transitioned over to a platform called Intercom, which sorts our help center and interacts better with the product. And we have also integrated Google Meet, which allows you to immediately start video calls inside 3D Repo. So if you're having a problem and our support team are online, we can send you a link. You can jump into a video call, start your screen sharing straight away without having to, you know, find a time, book a meeting and things like that. What that means in terms of the platform, this is our new help center. You can navigate through it, help.3drepo.io. It's very well organized, but it also has a really good search function. So you can basically search for anything inside our help center and it's going to show you what it is. Often we've got step-by-step instructions. So it's one thing that you might want to view them in your browser window, but the trouble you have here is that you've got one tab open with the instructions and one tab open with 3D Repo. So the intercom chat application allows you to go and search for those articles inside the application, and then pull them up so that you can now follow the instructions whilst you're inside 3D Repo. So for new users, this is a really big benefit. Also, we can control who receives certain articles. So we can, for our more premium customers, create customer-specific articles and push those out to their end users so that anyone who's got specific business workflows or things that they're trying to get people to do, they can have custom articles. Here, we're seeing an interaction with one of our representatives, and based on the question, the representative has pushed an article to the user. So rather than the user finding the article themselves, they can now receive the article and open it immediately and start to follow up. If that still hasn't worked, this is where we can push a Google Meet request through to the end user, and then the end user can just click that link, immediately jump on a call and connect to one of our support team. And then finally, for the 2021 update, we've been working with some of our partners, which you can see on the right on the AEC production control room. We're 18 months into a 24-month demonstrator project. We've had a really great response from the delivery teams. We're working on site. We're getting 3D Repo, EVI file, and mission room into the hands of users. And what we're finding is, and there are other webinars if you want to catch up on AEC production control room. What we're finding is it's a bit of a virtuous circle here of the more data we expose to users, the more questions they ask about what they can have next, the more we expose and the more they ask. So what we found in the last 18 months is a rapid acceleration in the decision-making on these projects because they're now seeing data. And the other thing is we're now validating the data at the source. So rather than waiting till the project's finished and realizing that we've got a whole stack of pretty useless, inconsistent data, we're week on week tweaking the data sets and making sure that they're suitable for what we need them for. So by the end of the project, we've got a nice clean data set that everyone can intuitively interrogate. And this is sort of an example of what we're looking at. We're looking for that discoverability, that simplicity, and this modular nature. So what we're working on at the moment is a generic set of dashboards which use made up dummy data, as we're calling it, so that we can distribute it to other people, other non-partner companies, so any contractors out there or subcontractors or clients, without worrying that we're exposing another company's data. Okay, so that was everything for 2021. I've got a little preview of 2022, but Andrew, I don't know if we want to jump into a few questions now.
Yeah. We can. Got one here. Can we federate DWG data into a Revit file? I guess that means in 3D Repo.
Yes, so the way 3D Repo works is each of those containers, once they're inside 3D Repo, they're agnostic to where they came from. So whether you've got DWGs, Revit files, you've pushed something from Navisworks, you can federate them all inside 3D Repo and see them in one federation file with one URL and not worry about the source.
Yeah. Are there any more white papers planned for 2022? Yeah, I believe there's one currently being written at the moment looking at security in BIM, which we'll be bringing out in the next few weeks. And yeah, we do plan to try and release one every 3 months for 2022. So we'll see where they go.
Yeah, that's been an interesting discussion, hasn't it? The intellectual property and security discussion around BIM in general. So hopefully that's going to be a really interesting white paper. It's really interesting to write it and talk about it.
Yeah, and then the other question seems to be around that data validation stuff that you showed around automating it and what you can check with it. So yeah, I think what you can check with it is any of the data that lies within the model in terms of metadata. There's the possibility to check that data automatically as soon as the file gets uploaded to 3D Repo, and whether that happens to be via a manual upload from a user or via an automated upload from a common data environment. You can kind of have that hands-off approach and push that data out to things like Power BI to be able to help view that data for everyone, even if you're not coming into the 3D Repo model viewer.
Yeah, and I think the important thing to note with model validation, it's a bit like Solibri rule sets. I don't know if anyone out there is familiar with design managers or BIM managers that are using Solibri, but often it can take quite a while to build that library of rules. But once you've built it and you're applying it to every model that comes through your door, you're really seeing the return on investment in that initial kind of week to set up the rules. So that's what we're kind of pushing for with some of our validation. Is it's an upfront work, but the benefit downstream is massive, especially when you're pulling models in from your common data environment and automatically validating them.
Yeah. We've got one more here around. Have you got any further with Bentley? Do we still need to use IFC? So you can use IFC, but we have supported DGN from Bentley, I think, for about 3 years now. So you shouldn't have to. And yeah, that works with all manner of DGN files. At the moment, not with the kind of iDGN or iModel type files, though. So it is the native DGN file type that we're supporting. And that works as a direct upload directly into 3D Repo. Okay, I think that's it for the questions so far that have come through into the platform. If you do have any more as we're going through, we're now going to start looking ahead to 2022. But if you are asking one about stuff we've already done, just make that clear. And we'll come back to it at the end. But hopefully this will open it up a bit more as well.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, back over to you, Matt.
So, as with anything, presenting next year's features or what you're going to do in the next year is always quite daunting. This is very much a non-committal process. We are planning on delivering all of this, but the order in which we deliver it and whether or not other priorities come in ahead, we do listen to customer feedback constantly. And we're often really working 3 months ahead. So if we're getting a lot of feedback about a particular direction, we might play around with this roadmap a little bit. But at the moment, this is our best intentions. So first up, file support. This one very close. We're looking at Q1, maybe Q2 2022. Native Navisworks support for NWDs. So if you've got an NWD file, you can push that to 3D Repo. You can go to 3D Repo, upload it, and it's going to process. And also that's going to come along with Autodesk 2022 support as well. So any Revit or Navisworks 2022 files will be supported. We are also investigating other file formats. I hope that we will have a couple more by the end of the year, but we can't guarantee that at the moment, and we can't guarantee which ones they will be. So if you do have a file format, I guess the previous question about Bentley files, if you do have a file format that you wish 3D Repo supported and it doesn't, just get in contact with us. We have been working with Powerproject on a 4D integration. So anyone familiar with planning should be familiar with Powerproject. They have an add-on called Powerproject BIM, which allows you to do 4D sequences inside the program. What we really like about this approach is that the planner has the model whilst they're planning. So it's not an afterthought. 4D is there inside the planning process. And you're going to be able to upload that 4D sequence from within Powerproject straight to 3D Repo. Will allow you to upload multiple sequences for that optioneering, the same way we do with the API. And then what's really powerful then is now you've got your program, your 4D sequence inside an interactive workflow. As you're tagging up issues or health and safety risks, the planner is going to be able to review those, affect the program directly inside Powerproject, and then push a new updated sequence. So you can really get into that, weekly update, 3-week look ahead process where you're having that continuous improvement and that constant iteration. There's a link there to Elecosoft's webpage where they explain Powerproject BIM in case you're interested in sort of getting to grips with that ahead of the 3D Repo integration coming out. On to kind of the big change that's coming up in 2022, and the one that we've spent the most time in 2021 working on, but we haven't got to the point of releasing it yet, is our new user experience. So we really wanted 3D Repo to be more intuitive for new users. For anyone that's been using 3D Repo for more than 3 or 4 years, you'll notice that our user interface has largely stayed the same, even though our feature set has been added to. So what with the user experience update has allowed us to do is take a step back, look at the features we really care about, and prioritize those in the platform and make it easier for new users to find them. So we've made workflows quicker by allowing you to bulk upload models, and we've got more data options, so more things you could do with your data, more ways you could sort your data, and obviously it's got a slightly cleaner, modern look. So what that looks like, these are some samples that we've done. Some of this is live and we're in the middle of QA testing it, and some of it is mock-ups. This is what you're going to see when you land on 3D Repo. You're going to see a list of team spaces you've got available. You're going to see a list of recent federations you've viewed, and also your activity list, which is going to show whether someone in a particular team space has uploaded a new model, whether there's been a federation created. The other bit that's just down at the bottom of the page there, that discover area, we're going to start providing direct links through to our help center. So now that we've got that support area that we're really proud of, we want to allow people to access it directly from inside the app. We're going to push new articles in there, and we're going to have a download section as well. So when we get a new Unreal plugin or a new Power BI plugin, we're going to publish and promote that directly inside the app, so users can really see the improvements being made to the 3D Repo platform. Once you're inside a project, you will see a list of federations. The switch in this redesign is really towards federations. So rather than seeing all your federations and models in one place, we're going to separate them out. So you're going to have your federations in one area and containers, which are your model files, in another. So that means for a visitor to your team space, perhaps a user that you want to raise health and safety risks, they're not going to be bombarded with a bunch of models with strange model codes that they don't understand. They're going to just see the federations, which is really your workspace areas that you want them to focus on. As you might have seen earlier in that video there, you can search and filter and favorite in the same way you can now, but it's really focused. Once you go through to your containers page, you'll have a list of your model containers. You get the same favoriting system that you do in the federations page, but the difference here is because model containers have revisions stacked on top of each other, you're going to be able to go through and see the particular revisions associated with a model in the list. So you can see you can cancel or void particular revisions, and you'll be able to download every revision's source model file. So you'll be able to go in there and download the Revit file that was associated with that particular revision. And then we've got this upload files button here, which we don't have a preview of yet because we're kind of 75% of the way through building it. But that's going to allow you to throw plenty of model files at 3D Repo, process them and upload them all in one go rather than pushing them one by one manually. If we go back to the federation screen, you'll be able to see what we're working on as well, which is a lot of the same features that we've got in 3D Repo currently, but with that new facelift, that new design styling. So this is the Kanban board that we've currently got with the new color, the new color scheme, and it's going to work exactly the same way as it does currently. And then moving on to the viewer, this is what the new viewer is going to look like. We've split out the features because what we found, again, now that we're adding more and more features, that list on the left in the current 3D Repo is getting a bit busy. So we've separated it out. The philosophy here is things that you can edit and create go over to the left, things that you can review, measure, assess, the BIM card and the data within the BIM model, that's over on the right. So there's a real division of where you're creating information, where you're just viewing information. So you'll see a lot more of that in the first half of this year, and we're going to hopefully be testing with power users towards the end of the first quarter of 2022. This bit of a tricky summary here. So we've gone for next level collaboration, bigger, faster, better. So what we're looking at is bigger models and customizable interfaces and better sharing and collaboration. So for those of you familiar with this, the start out of 3D Repo, it was very much in that innovative computer science and clever thinking that Joseph and the team were doing early on. Now we're going back to that and we're revisiting that. Now we've got the models in the cloud, we're doing interesting things with them. What happens when we want bigger models? What happens when we want city level models inside the browser? So that's what the research and development team are working on now. And again, more to see around the middle of the year this year.